This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, it is wet as always, Los Angeles. Joy Taylor is joining me. It is great to have everybody in today. Joy, how are you?
You just said it is always wet in Los Angeles.
It's going to rain the next 3 days. I feel, for all the people that own ski resorts and reservoirs in America, congratulations out west.
It's very strange.
It's been crazy. It's a cold, wet winter in Los Angeles.
We're not complaining, though.
No, it's good for the state. It's good for the, it's good for the farmers. It's good for the ski resorts. It's good for California. It's pouring all the time. Today we get a brief break. And by tomorrow, again, I was just told it's going to be pouring. I was just joking with the guys. I retweeted Jimmy Butler today. I hope that's not tampering. I'll get to Magic Johnson in a couple of minutes. Let me start with this, though. NFL media is smarter than the NBA media. More sophisticated. The NFL media doesn't fall for gimmicky stats. The NBA media still does. Russell Westbrook's getting all the headlines this morning. Every article I read, Russell Westbrook makes history, 10th consecutive triple-double. Oh, my God, it's history. Every newspaper, every blog. Oh, my God, can you believe it? Westbrook is making history. The triple-double in the NBA has become hitting for the cycle in baseball. You do realize that Babe Ruth never hit for the cycle. 22 years, Babe Ruth. Probably the greatest baseball player, never hit for the cycle. Aaron Hill, a journeyman infielder, hit for the cycle twice in 3 weeks. Triple-double is hitting for the cycle. Cool. Headlines. Wow. I'd rather a baseball player go 4 for 4 with 4 jacks out of the stadium. Because in baseball, the only thing that really matters, runs scored. Who leads the league in runs scored, cross the plate? That wins games. The best player for Oklahoma City last night was Paul George, again. I don't know if you've noticed. He's arguably, after James Harden, the MVP. He's averaging 40 points a game in February. His plus-minus last night was plus 14. He scored 47 last night. He's the reason they won, not a headline. Russell Westbrook's plus-minus was plus 1. By the way, he's fourth on his own team in plus-minus. He was 1 for 6 last night in threes. He was 5 for 19 from the floor. And that's the headline. Congratulations, NBA media, for not getting it. For falling for a gimmicky stat. Babe Ruth never hit for the cycle. Okay, congrats, 4 for 4. I'd rather be 4 for 4 with 4 jacks. And I don't care about fake rebounds. Allen Iverson, 1 career triple-double. Because Allen Iverson actually played defense and gave effort on both ends of the floor. And Allen Iverson wasn't hanging around the rim getting fake rebounds. Did you hear? There's an amazing piece of audio after the game. Paul George, listen to how totally obsessed with this triple-double stat. By the way, Westbrook can no longer shoot 65% from the line, 24% from threes, and he knows it. So he loves this stat because it overshadows the bigger problem. He's a guard who can't shoot. You can't be short and not be able to shoot in the NBA. You can be tall and not be able to shoot, but if you're short, you've got to be able to shoot. All right? Sorry, you got to be able to shoot. Listen to Paul George after by the way, he was a plus 14 after the game.
We talked about it right before that play. We talked about it. I was clueless at that moment. But, he told me the situation. So it was cool to be on the other end of the triple-double.
Yeah, Paul George was actually worried about, winning. Westbrook came up to him, hey, man, one more of these and you'll have a triple-double. I mean, does Westbrook have one of those? And he gets doubled, he'll pass to him. But I feel like sometimes even his assists have a fluff feel to them. But I mean, the NFL media doesn't fall for like passing yards. Matt Stafford has 1 million passing yards. Kirk Cousins has 1 million passing yards. Do they have one signature play in the history of their careers? The NFL media has figured it out, that passing yards have a direct correlation to a bad team trailing in a game. You want to know who led the NFL last year in passing yards? The team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. led the NFL in passing yards. But the NFL media doesn't freak out over it because what does it mean? 12 quarterbacks threw over 4,000 yards last year. Half didn't even make the playoffs. So I'm not saying passing yards mean nothing. You wouldn't want to generally be last in the NFL in passing yards, but it doesn't translate to wins. Half the teams that had it last year didn't make the playoffs. Tampa Bay Buccaneers led it, didn't make the playoffs. All it means is you're generally behind in games and have to throw to catch up. The triple-double, it grabbed all the headlines last night. Paul George, to me, is the most valuable player right now in the league, not James Harden. James Harden's the best scorer, but he doesn't play defense like Paul George. Paul George is loose, is feeling great. He's the MVP of the league. He had 47. He had a plus 14 plus minus. And the headline is that stupid triple-double garbage? I mean, I'm sorry, but if you win the game 8-7 in baseball, I don't give a rip about an individual stat for a guy that hit a triple in the third inning with nobody on and was stranded there. I mean, the NBA media, it's embarrassing now. That's the headline. Not that Paul George is the best two-way player in the NBA this morning. And unlike Kawhi Leonard, he's out there every night. Paul George, the best two-way player in the NBA. Not LeBron right now. Last 60 days, Paul George, best player in the league. If defense matters, and call me nutty, I think it does. All right, I'm going to introduce something new today. Let me shift gears. The NBA is investigating Magic Johnson and the Lakers if they have potentially violated tampering rules by, talking about Magic Johnson, talking about Ben Simmons. It should be noted, Magic Johnson was a great player. He now leads the NBA in tampering. He's become very good at it. Magic Johnson rolls out of bed and he's just tampering. With the light switch, with his bagel, Magic Johnson tampers 24/7. But here's what's happened. And this happens in life, and I'm going to introduce you to something. It's called the "that's just" rule. Think about that. Watching, driving. That's just rule. Simon Cowell gets to use that. Simon Cowell can be so mean. That's just Simon Cowell. Charles Barkley says things no other broadcaster broadcasting for the NBA could get away with. Well, that's just Charles Barkley. Magic Johnson talks about players, jokes about stuff. That's just Magic Johnson. It's not tampering. It's who he is. He's fun. He jokes. Remember when he went on television, Fox? Remember this? Can you imagine Danny Ainge of the Celtics doing this?
Nobody's watching. Nobody need to know. What are you going to take to bring LeBron to the Lakers? I'll pay the fine. I'll pay the fine.
Don't answer.
I'll pay the fine.
I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to be in trouble. But you know what? We're trying to build a championship team with the Lakers, and hopefully next summer we'll be in line to sign free agents.
It's just Magic Johnson. John Daly, this engulfed. Is that guy smoking? You got to kick that guy off the course. That's just John Daly. Manny Ramirez. Remember Manny Ramirez, one of the great all-time players for the Red Sox. Manny Ramirez once cut off a throw. He was a left fielder. He once cut off a throw from a center fielder. Johnny Damon made a play at the wall. Ball's loose. Johnny Damon's throwing it back to the infield, the cutoff man. Manny Ramirez cuts off the cutoff man. Well, it's just Manny Ramirez. They even had a term for it. It's just Manny being Manny. You watch Gordon Ramsay on those cooking shows, you're like, what a jerk. Oh, not really. It's just Gordon Ramsay being Gordon Ramsay. It's called, I'll introduce it to you in life, and it matters, and we use it all the time. The "that's just" rule. Magic Johnson's not tampering. That's just Magic Johnson. It's how he talks. It's how he's always talked. He's funny. People like him. I've been in rooms with Magic Johnson. He's always smiling. Even this past week when he was angry at the Pelicans, he was kind of smiling as he said, there was a lot of stuff out there. We didn't, of course, give it any of the stuff. I went to a Laker game a year ago. It was unbelievable. I'd never seen anything like it. And I've got decent seats, right? I'm around midcourt, about 30 rows up, sitting with the NBA commissioner. Just joking. Anyway, I was at the game, and I look over to the right, and the crowd rises. And I thought there was a fight. You ever gone to a stadium, and everybody's getting up, and you're like, oh, there's a fight. And I looked over in the crowd, and I couldn't see a fight. And I looked on the floor, and I didn't see a fight. And the crowd, section by section by section by section by section, was standing. And finally, I saw it. Magic Johnson, who's been in that building 10,000 times, had simply emerged from the tunnel, and people stood section by section to get a glimpse of a guy they'd seen play, stand, talk in Los Angeles for 30 years. He's not tampering. He's a superstar. That's just magic. Great stuff today. We're absolutely packed. I will tell you that Kyler Murray is going to play in the NFL. The A's can, by the way, they could pay all they want. They don't have a ton of money as a franchise. I would not draft Kyler Murray myself, but I do think he's a first-round draft pick. A lot of rumors today Arizona would like him at the number 1 pick. I don't buy it. But it's the sizzle steak rule, and I'm a steak guy over a sizzle guy, and I'll explain what I mean coming up next. All right, the waiting time is over. Valentine's in 2 days. That's it. All the time left. Don't be caught Thursday scrambling to find last-minute gifts for your loved ones.